You know, it's interesting when we start talking about courage and strength. Most of you know that I have 7 kids, and now with Lily Kay being born, I have 11 grandkids. And it's kind of wild because growing up, it wasn't uncommon for one of our kids to end up looking a little like this. Yeah, we've all been there before. Kids get hurt, they get scared, things like that happen. And so this happens with our kids, our grandkids is kind of part of it. Now, the natural response, obviously, the dad or the grandpa is there any blood? And that basically, if there's not, they're going to be okay. But another response that typically a dad or a grandpa has is to be able to say, come on, shake it off. You can be tough. Suck it up a little bit. You gotta be able to do this. Be strong. Maybe even have a little courage here. You see, what we want to do is we want to help them to deal with adversity because life is full of that. You can't avoid it. You have to deal with it. Guys, the same thing is going to be true relative to following God in our life. We can't really expect that we're going to find ourselves in a situation where we're not going to have adversity or difficulty. And God so much knows that He calls us to kind of expect to have courage. You know, in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13, it says, be on the alert, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. He says right up front, guys, this is how you're going to have to handle that. Yeah, it's interesting in Proverbs 31 where it talks about the excellent woman there. In verse 25, it says, strength and dignity are her clothing, and she smiles at the future. The whole idea is kind of this plan to have a little bit of courage, have a little strength in the face of adversity. So if we're supposed to be strong and courageous when tough issues come our way, it's going to necessitate that we learn to trust God. I don't know if you saw or not in our text, but in verse 9, God tells Joshua why, in fact, he could be okay to have strength and courage. He said there very clearly, because the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Now think about that. He said, Joshua, this isn't about you. This is about me. I'm going to be with you wherever you go. So because of that, you can have courage. That trust in God is important. I mean, it wasn't because Joshua was a great warrior, which he was, but that wasn't the issue. I mean, think about what this was like for Joshua. We'll get to this, but in chapter 6, where God says, okay, Joshua, here's what you're going to do. Take your whole army, and I want you to march them around the city of Jericho. You're going to march around 7 times, and then you're going to shout, and the walls will fall down. What? So here are all these great, brave soldiers, and that's the response? A big part of God's point there was to go, I got this. You trust me. I'll be the power and the strength that you need to be able to do this well. You have to understand that for Joshua to be great, he had to stick with God. He had to learn to trust God, know that God had his back, know that God was the power that he would succeed through, and the same thing is going to be true with us. When the times got rough and he had to get going, he had to do the right thing, you have to understand that demanded that he trust God, that he had that connection with God. We're going to have that connection where we trust God and watch him do some great stuff by his power in our life.